In the previous lecture, we have gone up to point number 13 of step 2. So 13 was debug the program to understand working of debugger. I hope and believe that you have understood how to go about it, how to debug. So once you have debugged the program completely, then you don't need the service of debugger. All you need is the hex file, that is the binary file of the program, which you will eventually load into your product. So for that we follow a process called release. You can see here, and we are going to see this release process now. Step 2, point 14, build all. There is a process to understand release process. Okay. So to do that, we will go to our IDE. Now we are back at the IDE. Last time what you did was you selected debug. You can see here on the pointer, you selected debug, and then you did build all, and that's it. And then you debugged. Now you are through with debugging. You understood the program, and so you say, no, I don't want to debug anymore. I just want the final result, which is the binary file of the product. Okay, so what you do for that, you go back to this window, click on this, you will see release, select it, and then all you do is just execute build all. Okay, so let us do build all. So it is processing, and you can see what is happening here. It has generated a file. Where is that file? To see the final binary file which has been created by this process, you have to go to where your workspace is. I have gone to the left hand near the top corner, just below D. It is tutorial1.stw. STW is the workspace of ST. ST is the name of the company which makes that chip. So we had to go to this place. How do you go there? Just select it and do the right click, find out the properties, and then workspace path you get here. Name is tutorial1.stw, where it is. So you go here and move slightly to this. So the folder is LSK1, where it is, this is where it is. So let us go like this. That is, go to D, then program files, then ST microelectronics, then STVD, followed by LSK1. So let us do that. So minimize this, but so remember where you have to go, or you can copy paste it into the notebook. So we are in the D drive now. In the D drive, what we have to do? We have to go to program files. We have to go to ST microelectronics. You have to go to ST toolset. Here we have to go to STVD, and here we find LSK1, where our workspace resides. So you can see your tutorial1 STW is here. So this is the folder to which you have to go. Then go to the release. You want to see the file which has been created by this. So double click it, and you will find the file k1dos.s19. What is k1? K1 is the name of our project. So k1.s19, this is the file which contains the binary file of our project. So this is what you want to do. So what is the benefit of this? It is useful in production. How? In the production department, you don't have to send source code. All you do is you send this file, and they will make use of this file, and they will not know the source code. So there is a complete intellectual property protection, and you go to this file and they will write this into the product. That is what the release process is. You're releasing the product for production. Okay. If you want to see what this file looks like, then double click it. How will you open it? Use the default Windows service. OK. It will show you some options. I go to Notepad and I say OK. Then this is the file. This is called a Motorola format of the binary file. So the programming device will know how to handle this file, and it will write this file into your microcontroller, right? So this is our objective of a build process on a release objective. So you can see here, unless somebody knows what these numbers stand for, and it is not very easy, then nobody will be able to easily change, copy. One can copy, but one cannot change this program easily. So your property right, intellectual property right, is fully protected. So friends, we have done the build all to understand release process. We have done it, and you have seen that a binary file is created, and that file can be given to production, where nobody will be having any access to the source code, which is our C file. So your intellectual property right is duly protected. So now we are in a position to go to step 3, where we take a close look at the I/O ports. What we are going to do is understanding and initializing hardware components. So we are talking about hardware components which are I/O ports of the microcontroller. So let us do that. Friends, I have come to the reference manual for STM8S series 8-bit microcontrollers, and here I will take you directly to page 107. And here you have I/O port configuration summary. What is an I/O port really? Input output port, what it really means. A general purpose I/O, GPIO, general purpose input output ports are used for data transfers between the chip and the external world. Okay, an I/O port can contain up to 8 pins. Each pin can be individually programmed as a digital input or digital output. There is something else also written here, to which we will go some other time. It says that in addition, some ports may have alternate functions like analog inputs, external interrupts, and IOs for peripherals. But I will not go into all this. I will only restrict myself to the simple input-output functions. So the most important thing about this GPIO is that port bits can be configured individually. What does it mean? Restricting ourselves only to the IO function, any pin of any port can be either made input or it can be made output. Input means, when it is input, what does it mean? It means that it can gather one bit of information from external world. It can draw it inside the microcontroller, right? And output means what? The microcontroller can send data on one bit of the port to the outside world. That is what input and output means. And then these input output means have also some interesting features. Let us go to that now. This is page 107 of the document I mentioned in the beginning. Now you want to configure a particular pin of a particular port. So for every port, you have a DDR register, a CR1 register, and a CR2 register, right? So if I want to make a floating input without interrupt, it is possible to configure an input port in such a way that when the input is active, it generates an interrupt. So either you permit this, you like it, or you don't like it. You don't want to do it. You don't need it. So it is a floating input without interrupt. It can have a pull-up without interrupt. It can be floating with interrupt. It can be pull-up with interrupt. So these are the possible ways, or these are the possible functionalities of input that you can create with the help of three registers: DDR, which is data direction register, this control register 1, and this is CR, means control register, and it is control register 2, the functions I just now mentioned, and this you will see soon. So if the port is input, it can have one of these four possibilities. If you give 0, 0, 0, then you have floating input without interrupt. 0, 1, 0, like this. So you have to refer to this table whenever you decide to define the input output mode of any port pin. Now what I am talking about, the port pin, let me take you to our own circuit, right? You can see in this diagram. Here you are having port C. Which bits of port C? You have port C4, port C, port C3, port C4, port C5, port C6, and port C7. When I say port C, this, what it really means is, you look at this. This is port bits, port C. So port C has 8 bits. Every port is having 8 bits. Some of them are brought out on the pin, on the chip. Some are not brought on the chip. So in our microcontroller, we are using only these pins. So port C, what pins I am using? Port C 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I am using 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in port C. So we call them PC0, PC1, PC2. We are not using them. Then PC3, PC4, PC5, PC6, and PC7 that we are using. When I want to make a particular pin as an input port, I give value 0 to that particular register. So port C has a data direction register. Port C has a data direction register. And suppose I want to make PC7 as the input. Then in the data direction register, I will write 0. This refers to data direction register. This also refers to the data direction register for port D. This is data direction register for port C. So if I write 0 in this data direction register, let me name it. What I am referring to is data direction register for ports C and D, right? So this is for port C, this is for port D. It is data direction register. It is abbreviated as DDR. So let me go back to our document. So you can see that if I want to make a particular bit of a particular port as input, then DDR bit should be 0. If I want to make it an output port, then that particular DDR bit should become 1. If you make it 1, then only it becomes output. If you make it 0, it becomes input. What you are making 0 or 1? The data direction register for that particular port. Okay? Look at page 112, 112 and section 11.9.3. It describes port X data direction register, where X can be A, B, C, D, E, F, or whatever ports are there in the chip. So suppose you want to make bit 7 of port C as an input, then you should go to PC underscore DDR and set this bit equal to 0 if you want it to be an input, or 1 if you want it to be output. Similarly here, it is described here, data direction bits. These bits are set and cleared by software to select input or output mode. So it is set for output mode or clear for input mode. So if you set 0, it becomes input mode. If you set 1, then it becomes output mode. For example, if these 4 bits are set to 1 and these 4 bits are set to 0, then these 4 bits will become like this. Look at this. Okay? So we will take a further look. Now there is a control register. What does it do? What does this control register do? Reset value is okay. Now it is CR1. Let us say we are talking about PD CR1. PD underscore CR1. Then what it means? If I give all zeros, or let us say take this bit 0, and the value here I set as 0, if it is in input mode, then it would mean that it is a floating input, and if I set it 1, it would mean input with some pull-up. And who will decide whether it is input mode or output mode? This register will decide whether it is input or output mode. This is the direction register. So first you have to define the direction, and then you say, okay, now I want to make input and I want to configure that input either as an floating input or an input with pull-up. So this register CR1, control register CR1 for the port X, X means A, B, C, D or whatever it is, will decide. Okay, so let us go to an actual implement. I start with a simple example. Pin 1 of our microcontroller is PD4, that is bit 4 of port D, and it has to be output because I want to control this LED. When I give logic 1 here, this LED will glow. When I give logic 0 here, this LED will be turned off. This is what I want to do. So what do I do? PD4 has to be given direction output. And for output, what we do? For output, we set that bit equal to 1. So PD4 bit is set to be 1, where in the DDR register, we must make this bit equal to 1, fourth bit. This is bit 0, bit 1, bit 2, bit 3 and bit 4. This bit 4 should be made 1. I don't care about any other bit. Let us say I just want to do this and nothing else. So let us go to our program. I have actually rewritten the program. We'll go to that and see. Here I have rewritten the program. I have added something like iostm8s.h. This header file defines something. It defines how to represent a data direction register, control register, data output register and so on, right? It is all contained in this. So I had to use the same language here. These are the reserved words. We have to follow what the compiler has decided for us. So this comes from the compiler. Compiler has a file like this, header file. H.h means there's a header file. So what I have done is PD underscore DDR means port D data direction register, and this bit I set 1. I wanted PD4 to become 1, the fourth bit of data direction register. So if you look at this, it is bit 0, bit 1, bit 2, bit 3 and bit 4. So in binary it looks like 0001, 0000, and in hex it will look like 1, 0. So I have given in hex, 0x stands for hex value. What is the hex value? 10. So I am saying that data direction register for port D should contain 1 in this location. So whatever that value may be, whatever may be the original value, I want to force this particular bit to 1. So for that what I do? I use an OR gate. So PD DDR means content of data direction register for port D, and I am ORing it with 1, 0. So when I OR something with 1, that particular bit has to become 1. When I AND something with 0, that bit has to become 0. So I am not ANDing anything, I am just trying to OR it so that a particular bit can be made 1. We'll elaborate on this later. Right now what we have done is PD underscore DDR OR is equal to 0, 1, 0. That sets the bit 4 in PD DDR equal to 1, which makes this bit output port because we wanted it to be that way. Now here I have given this so that you can read it and remember. If you forget what I have said, you can just have a look at this. So this makes port PD4 as output. All other pins of port D are inputs. Maybe or may not be, but this is definitely an output. Now CR1, we have seen that CR1 has two distinct meanings. Let me see again. This is CR1. What does it do? Now it is an output, right? So PD4 is an output. What CR1 will do to it? Now in the output mode, that is DDR is already 1, that you have seen just now. It is pseudo open drain. If you write it 1, then it is push pull. So it will not remain floating. It will either be on or it will be off. It will never remain in the undefined state. So we want it to be in a very well defined state. So the D4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, this bit has to become 1. So it goes into push pull, slope control, etc. If this bit is 1 and I'm going to OR, so that this definitely becomes 1. So 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, with this I OR it. Good. So 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0 means 1, 0 in hexadecimal. Let us see whether it is so. So PD underscore CR1 OR is equal to 0x10. Fine. So we have understood that it is an output port. This particular pin is an output and it has got a push-pull nature of output. I have made other pins, PD DDR as F7, PD3 is input, PD3 has a pull-up. Let's have a look at the input also now. In our project, we are making all these pins as input pins because we are going to connect keys or switches. So all these pin 20, 14, 16, 19, 13, 15 will receive a configuration like this, a switch with a resistance and a capacitance, So when I press this key or this button, then these 2 points become shorted, and it is shorted to ground, therefore this will also be shorted to ground, and PC7 will experience a 0 level. If I remove my finger from this push button, it opens, this is no more shorted, and therefore this pin gets connected to plus 5 volts, and therefore it is logic 1. So when you press it, it is shorted, so it goes to 0, and when you remove it, then this goes to plus 5 volts through a resistance. If you don't put a resistance, then what will happen? If you just connect it here, then what will happen? When you press this key, 5 volt will be shorted to ground, so to avoid that you need this. So on every pin, this 17, 15, 13, 19, 16, 14 and 20, we are going to connect this circuit, switch, capacitor, resistance connected in this particular way. So I am taking an example of only PD3 to explain the nature of input. So PD3 has to be input, and input means its value has to be in the data direction register, its value should be 0. So port D, it is here, this bit has to be 0 so that it becomes input. So which is this bit? Bit 0, bit 1, bit 2, and this is bit 3. So bit 3 has to be 0. To make something 0, you AND it with 0. To make something 1, you OR it with 1. Remember this. Will you remember that? So what we will do is, we will make this bit 0 by the process of ANDing. So here we have PD, DDR and 0F7. What is F7? What would you say is F7? F7 means 1, 1, 1, 1, and 7 means 0, 1, 1, 1. So what do you see? You see that bit 0 is 1, then bit 1 is 1, bit 3 is 1, and this is 0. And what I have done? I ANDed it. So when you AND something, when you AND 0 to something, that particular bit has to become 0. When you OR with 1, that bit becomes 1. So when you want to ensure that a particular bit is 1, you OR that position with 1. When you want to ensure that a particular bit has to become 0, you AND it with AND that position with a 0. That is what we had done. 1, 1, 1, 1, 0. This is what 0 is what I wanted to do. This is our PD3. So it becomes an input port. Now it has to have a pull-up. So it is 08. I am ORing it because to make it pull up, I must make a particular bit 1. What is that particular bit? Bit 3, PD3. Okay. So 08 means what? 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0. So bit 0, bit 1, bit 2 and bit 3. Bit 3 has to become 1. When you want to make something 1, then you OR it. This symbol is for OR. This symbol is for AND. So I AND it with just OR it with this number. What is this? 0, 8 in hexadecimal. So with this we have done two things. First thing is we have made PD4 as an output with a push-pull output and PD3 as input with a pull-up. So that is what this process is called initialization. In the program we will not change it. We will not change the initialization. We will retain this, and subsequently what really executes it after this, it keeps moving inside the while one loop, and this while one loop we are not doing any definition of any port. We have seen PD DDR data direction register. We have seen PD CR1, the control register. And now we will see a PD ODR, output data register. I will continue this while loop in the next lecture. So far what we have done is we have tried to understand the meaning of programmability of input output port. It can be any pin can be made input, any pin can be made output, and even these inputs and outputs can have different characteristics also, which can be controlled with the help of register CR1 and CR2. So we have seen PD DDR, we have seen PD CR1. If you want to do it for port C, then you will call it PC CR1, PC DDR. If you want to do it for port B, then you will say PB CR1 or PB DDR, like that. Okay, so we will look into this in our next lecture. So friends, thank you, and you may download all the documents which I have shown so that you may have a recapitulation, or you can just run this lecture again. Thank you very much.